I try to turn the dial on the small stove in our small apartment. Nothing happens. This has become a daily ritual for me, but I've never seen the flames I would have seen 1 month earlier. 1 month ago, the GNIM blockade started. Our supplies have been dwindling, but the main problem is the fuel. There are many problems in my home. Mali. Those include poor education and high dropout rate. Another problem is the literacy rate. Only 35% of the population can read and write. One other problem is the unstable government. There have been 5 successful coups since 1960, but the main problem is terrorism, and that leads to the fuel crisis. In fact, Mali has the 3rd highest death number from terrorism in the world. My name is Achi Dabo, and I am 13 years old, and I live in Bamako, Mali. I live in a small apartment with my 2 sisters, Asaida and Awa, my brother Omar, and my father Fato, and my mother Mariam. I go to school, but many other people don't. More than 2 million people of schooling age don't go to school in my country, and many of our graduates leave Mali. 15% of them emigrated in the years 1995 to 2005. My family works in agriculture, like many of the families in Mali. We are relatively well off compared to many other people in Mali. Mali has an unemployment rate of 3.1%, and 80% of the workers work in agriculture. The average worker makes only about $70 per month, or $840 a year, compared to America, where the average laborer makes between $36,000 and $49,000 a year. Mali has a rich history. In school, I learned about the Mali Empire. Did you know Mali actually used to be one of the richest empires in the world, from the 11th century to its peak in the 13th to its fall in the 16th. The Mali Empire was the dominant force in all of Africa. Its greatest leader, Mansa Musa, is widely considered the richest man in history. I learned about imperialism in Mali from my grandfather. In 1898, the French completed the conquest of Mali. That is where many of the problems started for Mali. When my country gained independence in 1960, we were left with an unstable government. That we have not been able to rectify for more than 60 years. That history of imperialism sent us on the track we have been following to this day, and to the fuel crisis we are in. Even through all that, Mali is still a beautiful place. I remember last year, my family and I took a trip to Bafing National Park. It was beautiful. We explored caves, went hiking, and watched the wildlife. Other famous places in Mali include the Great Mosque of Djenne. I have never been, but I have seen pictures, and the city of Djenne is amazing. I have also visited Timbuktu in Mali, home to the Great Djinguereber Mosque. It is a monument to Mansa Musa, the king I mentioned earlier. I have actually been there. It was very interesting to think about the history of the Malayan Empire. Maybe Mansa Musa had stood right where I was standing. Music is also a big part of my life. I perform at school and even play in the streets to earn a little extra money. I play the Njoni, a type of traditional West African lute. My country is beautiful, but like I said, there are many problems. For example, the overpopulation of Mali. Our country has a growth rate of 2.9%. That is 9th in the world. Another problem is our quality of life and life expectancy. Mali's life expectancy is only 61 years, and only 3.1% of our population is over the age of 65. That means only 3 in every 100 people in my country are alive by their 65th birthday. Those problems affect me in many ways. My father is a field worker, and the more people there are, the more strain there is on my father and the other field workers. I believe, however, that the most pressing problem is the terrorism in Mali. The reason that terrorism is such a big problem in my country is because it can cause mass panic throughout the nation. That's what I overheard my dad saying anyway. He has also said that the blockade around the capital is what is causing the fuel crisis. If it doesn't stop, it could cause much lower access to healthcare, which is already very slim. Less than 10% of the population has access to healthcare. This is due to staffing shortages, said my dad. Only 1 in every 10,000 people in my country are doctors. It could also lead to higher economic hardship and increased insecurity throughout Mali. I heard my next-door neighbor talking to my mom about how to solve the fueling crisis. She said that there is an emergency fuel plan in place that could help in the meantime, but in the long run, the best way to combat the terrorism is finding the root of the extremism and destroying it. Unless the fueling crisis and terrorism is stopped, it may lead to economic collapse and even the end of my country. I hope one day I will turn that dial and see flames, and I will never again turn it and see nothing.